The thing about embarrassment that's like so hard to remember is that like it's not real. It's not anything. Like nothing
Yeah.
happens. There's no consequences to being embarrassed.
What to do when you're too shy to tell your guy what kind of kinky stuff you want him to do.
I feel like all of my creative energy is going towards my porn fantasies.
If the only reason that you're trying to go to the gym and work out is for a revenge body, that body's probably not going to last you very long. Hey, welcome back. We're not for everyone. I'm Jess. That's Caroline. I have a complaint immediately.
No, thank God. Oh, those 4 seconds without one honestly were killing me. What?
I know,
Please
I
tell me.
saw it. I
Tell
saw
me
it
your
on your
complaint.
face.
Yeah.
I need to know, and I've needed to know this for a long time, but as I get older, it almost becomes more paramount that I have an answer to this question. Why in adult establishments, places where adults hang out, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, anywhere you go, why is there always toilet paper all over the ground in the bathroom? We are adults. I don't understand. I actually have wondered this forever. It dates back to a Dane Cook joke, which he was like my first exposure to comedy. Love him or hate him, I learned a lot from the guy. And he had a joke about toilet paper all over a bathroom floor and like people kicking in the walls when they go to the bathroom in a public place. I need to understand what this is. Do you have anything for me? Are
I
you
don't
the
think I
person
have.
doing it?
No, I don't think I am. I don't think I am. I don't think I have any answers. It's upsetting. Yeah.
There's crumpled up toilet paper. There's band-aids
There's
sometimes.
there's pee all over the toilet seat, which then makes you not want to sit on the toilet seat. Then you have to hover. And it's like if we all just sat on the toilet seat, none of us would have to pee on the toilet seat.
Okay, that's a really good take because I hate hovering. And I agree. If we just were normal, it wouldn't be gross to sit.
Yeah. I think it's like there's like one, I think out of every 100 adults, there's one who likes to just like poop on the floor and doesn't give a fuck. And I think the bathroom is fine. I think the public bathroom is fine until that person comes in and they're like pee on the toilet seat, toilet paper on the floor, poop on the floor. I've seen it before. I've
Like,
seen it.
what are they in a
I've
rush
seen
to
it in a
get
Kmart.
to?
And
In a
then, but then and once they do that, then everybody else is like, fuck this place. Like, this place is a mess. I don't owe this place anything.
Yeah,
It's kind of how I think people treat New York City. Like, the whole city is kind of a trash can. So no one feels responsible for keeping it clean. It's
yeah.
the New York City is kind of like a public bathroom. And and so it's like once it's established that it's kind of been trashed, everyone else is like, well, it's not on me to keep it clean. And then you just have the whole city pooping on the floor.
Mm-hmm. You nailed that. That's actually, you know, obviously because you're a scientist, you got here, but that's actually a real thing. It's called the broken windows theory. And
Yeah.
it's this thing of like when a neighborhood is already destroyed, there are broken windows, there's pollution all over the ground, there's this, there's that, there's graffiti, whatever it is. Like people will just keep treating it as a trash can as opposed to treating it like a place that they should uphold and respect and like keep clean.
Yeah.
Um, so it is true. Once it starts, the ripple effect, you can't stop in a public bathroom. But you named Kmart, and at least at Kmart, it's like, okay, this is a Kmart. I have kind of like certain expectations of the cleanliness
Yeah.
or the clientele. Everybody comes to Kmart. It's like a
There's some
catch-all for
poop.
everything.
There's some poop to be expected
Right,
at
in a Kmart.
Kmart.
But why is this happening at like my co-working space? This is where I wrote
Oh,
this
that's
down the
different.
other
I was
day.
picturing like Starbucks and stuff.
That's one thing. I can explain that away,
It's
but like
happening in your co-working
yeah,
space.
we pay to hang out there. It's
Yeah.
like keep it is just a bit shocking the amount of poop that's on the ground at my co-working space. So that's my complaint for the day. There's no answers. If somebody wants to like break this down, honestly, if people could come forward as those one percenters.
Remember in middle school and high school when they would do this to us when they like
Yes.
someone would like unplug all the computers in the computer lab and they'd be like they'd sit us down on the bleachers in the gym in our like class of 60 girls at our all girls Catholic school. And they'd be like, whoever did this, if you just come forward, you will not be as punished and you'll do the right thing. And like we responded to that. Like that did it for us. That's
Totally.
all we need to hear. We'd be like, it was me. And I've talked to like Justin about this a lot. And he was like, no, you never confess. What? That wasn't a problem at my school. Like, I don't
That
know
was
why
a
that was
constant thing at our school.
that was so effective. All they had to do was say like, you have to tell the truth. And we'd be like, I pulled out all the plugs in the computer lab.
Well, I think it was the social pressure a little bit of like once they gathered everyone into
Because
a
there would
room.
be, once again, there's the one kid who would poop on the floor or who would turn you in, and you knew there was that one kid who would turn you in, and so then nothing is safe. Then you need to go confess. There'd be that one
Oh,
kid who
I
would turn on
see.
everybody else. You know what I mean?
I was thinking more
It's a
just like the
metaphorical pooping at
guilt.
the floor.
I was thinking more of like the
The
guilt
guilt was
of
very
I know
effective.
I did it. And
Oh
if they're
yeah.
telling me right now that everybody's going to get in trouble, or I could just come forward and they'll be a little bit easier on me and I won't get everyone else in my class in trouble. Like that guilt would probably weigh on me in that situation. You know what I mean?
I
And
think,
we're all gathered
yeah.
in the gym and people are rolling their eyes like, ugh, who did this? Now I'm going to be in trouble. You know what I mean? And you feel pressure.
I think the guilt for me was more just like Jesus knows.
Okay. The,
Genuinely.
for me, it was more social pressure than
Okay.
Jesus, but I think they
Okay.
were
Both are
pulling on
valid.
both at our
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I think I've talked to like Justin, some other people about us now, and so many people I've talked to were just like everyone just had each other's back. Like no one would turn anybody in
Wow.
their school. And I was like, that was not the case.
I have a very
No.
distinct memory in the fourth grade. I was in Miss Keegan's class. I don't think you were in Miss
I
Keegan's class.
was.
You
I
were? We were in
was.
the same fourth grade class. Okay, because there were three sections. So do you happen to remember we had a
Yes, yes,
substitute
yes,
teacher one
yes,
day?
yeah. Oh my God.
We had a
This
substitute
was this was
teacher.
first of all, let me say this was like the naughtiest thing we ever did. So let
I
me
still
just
think
like
about it. I'm 32
let
years old.
and also this is not really a naughty story, but remember
Mm-mm.
how much trouble we got in? Okay, tell the
Huge deal.
naughty fourth grader story.
I can't believe you were also in this class. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
We had a substitute teacher. And the day before the substitute was coming in, somebody in our class was like, let's do a prank on the substitute where when they call attendance tomorrow morning, we all raise our hand for a different person. Like,
Yeah, we pretend to be different kids.
yes, when
I
she
feel like
says, is
I think
Caroline present? I'll say present. And
there's a chance this was partly my idea. It's like something I would
okay,
have been into, but I
maybe.
don't actually remember.
I don't remember who it was either. But I can guarantee it was not my idea. I was a
Yeah.
very like goody two shoes, not gonna do that. But social pressure. I was like, this seems harmless. It seems fun. Everybody else is doing it. Yeah, let's do
It
it.
was harmless. First of all, it
And
was
it was
harmless.
harmless.
And it was a victimless crime. It was a victimless crime.
Right. So we do that the next day. And I don't even remember like how the substitute figured that out. Or maybe one person
Probably because
like
we couldn't
turned us
stop
in.
giggling. We couldn't stop
We were
giggling like
giggling.
4 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And they responded as if we had like slaughtered a village in front of them. It was the reaction, the response actually makes me angry that like I was like, we weren't doing drugs, we weren't skipping class, we like
Right. We're all
pretended to
present.
have we like pretended we were all attending school. We just pretended to have different names.
We were attending school so that we could do this fun thing. Like we all showed up that day because we knew we had a fun plan in place. Like maybe somebody would have played sick that day if we didn't have this. Anyway, yes. And then we had to like each person in our class had to write a letter of apology to the substitute teacher about this. And I specifically remember, I'm always talking about my dad on this podcast, but my dad was pissed that I had to write an apology letter, one for something so benign, two for something that he knew was not my idea. And all of that, he was like, this is what happened. Why did we send them to Catholic school? They just have to apologize for everything left and right and left and right.
That is what
Yeah.
Catholic school is. Yes.
And
I
that
mean,
was
teaching
often
you
his
that
beef for years to come. Like
totally.
anytime something like that happened, which was like once a year, something stupid like that would happen that we all had to apologize for on behalf of the class. That was always his beef. And I don't blame him. Like, that's why I still think about it.
It is so stupid. Like, it was such a stupid little thing, but it, for a child, it teaches you, it kind of like demeans what a real apology is for.
Yes, I'm
And
over apologizing all the time.
what? And it really has a big effect on you as a kid. It's not a small thing. Um, and what annoys me about those kind of situations in grade school, middle school, high school is a lot of the time, like, what does it boil down to? Why did the teacher and the staff get so mad? Like, no one was hurt. It didn't like disrupt the lesson. It didn't prevent learning. It didn't disrupt the agenda. I would say it wasn't like disrespectful to anybody. It just kind of embarrassed the substitute. It's just
Yeah.
like an adult. There are all these instances where like they will punish you and they claim it's over them trying to teach you some kind of moral, but it's just like that they got embarrassed by a kid. And
Mm.
so they're going to punish you for it. I want a fucking apology letter. I
Oh,
want my
yeah.
apology.
I want an apology letter for all of the apologies that I was forced to give for silly things like that at that school that have turned me into a person that over apologizes for everything. I always think things are my fault. I always think I'm in trouble for something. I mean, I've grown out of a lot of this, but at the
I
same time,
haven't.
there's
I
the little
haven't.
kid that still lives in all of us that
Yeah.
still, for me, still feels that way, even though like kind of like the front of my mind has taught myself out of these things. This
Yeah.
little girl, fourth grader, is still in me, scared that I'm in trouble and scared that I'm doing something wrong and so certain I need to apologize all the fucking time because
Yeah.
of things like that. I want an
I think
apology.
it actually confused in trying to like teach us some version of morality. It actually confused morality for me more
Mm,
because this version of morality had no correlation to um guilt or to causing harm or to like right and wrong. It could just be like anything.
yeah.
It could be something very neutral. I don't know. Yeah. So Catholic school.
It's going to be interesting if there are teachers listening to this who have a different perspective than us, like current day people our age who are teachers and
I
maybe
bet they
have been
will
on the
because
receiving end of a harmless
I mean,
prank.
like authority and like respecting authority matters. And
Yeah.
also, I've seen so many teachers just fucking
I mean, play a
take
prank
it,
back. Come the next
take it
day
to an
and prank the
extreme.
kids. That's what I would do if I was a teacher in that
Yeah.
situation. And I have no training on being a teacher. I don't really want kids. Like, I don't know what the right way to handle this situation actually is. But my immediate thought is like, okay, show them how that feels in the reverse. Be a little bit playful. Do something harmless. You don't want to like embarrass these kids, just because you were embarrassed, but kind of like play the game and tease them. That's what I would do. And I
Yeah,
think it could be funny and
totally.
teach a lesson in a different way. Um anyway, okay, yeah. So poop on the floor and apologies. Good kickoff. We're actually clearly we're scraping at the bottom of the barrel still for our topics each week. We are just both like brain dead. Thank God for WHATADOs.
We're
We're
doing
gonna
a what to
jump
do
in.
episode.
We're gonna jump into them, right? I honestly live for a WHATADO because it just
Yeah.
gives us something to talk about and have an opinion on that has nothing to do with us, and it's freeing.
These are tough ones. Yeah, these are tough ones. Just selected some what to do's that you guys sent in, and these are some stumpers, y'all. I think I'm gonna be listening to Jess's advice on a lot of these. Some of these are hard for
Oh,
me, but I'll talk. I'll fucking
we'll
talk.
talk. Yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah.
have true advice, but that's the point of WHATADOs. So,
No, we got to remind you, this is not advice. This is just all this will ever be. All we can ever be is two friends chatting at you. And friends are going to chat at you your whole life. And that doesn't mean you have to do what they say they would do. Doesn't mean they're
you
making the right
actually
calls.
usually won't. You usually
Usually,
won't
almost
do what your
never,
friend's telling you.
almost never. Like sometimes I think about doing this advice stuff. And actually, I am for a lot of people in my life, I am their advice person. Or
Yeah,
like
same.
for a lot of people. And I actually do think I can give good advice, but there's just such a gap between being able to give the advice objectively from a distance, looking at a situation and being able to live it. Like the way I'm living my life right now is it's back to back panic attacks and like identity crises and meltdowns and that's why I feel like I'm running out of stuff to talk about on the podcast because
Yeah.
I'm like working on stuff, I'm trying to figure stuff out, but it's not stuff that can be exported,
Yeah. It's
right
not there
now.
yet. To
So I
in
don't know,
process.
I'm gonna keep talking, but I don't really know how to live one's life, I think.
Would agree. Would agree.
Yeah.
Almost all the advice I give, which is a lot of it, not unsolicited. I'm very good at not giving unsolicited advice. I will stop myself if no one's asking for it, but often people are asking me for it and I give it and I know full well that I wouldn't do what I'm telling them to do. But I also know that it's probably the right thing to do, probably a better thing than a lot of the alternatives. That's it. That's the
let's
that's the prelude.
let's kick
Okay.
it.
So there were several questions around quitting jobs, knowing when it's time to quit your job, which we've talked about a little bit in our Career for You episode. So for anybody who's in that situation, if you haven't listened to that one yet, I'd say go back because we did cover quite a bit of these topics, but there was this interesting spin on it in one of the questions that was submitted, which is what to do when your partner hates their job but won't do
Oh,
anything about it.
oh,
So
to me
instead of
that's a completely different topic. That is
it
completely
is,
different.
I thought it was the interesting spin on quitting because
Yeah.
everybody's asking us, should I quit? Should I quit? But this is more like you're projecting that your partner maybe should quit, wants to quit, whatever, but they're not doing anything and you're tired of hearing about it. I find it relatable. I find it
Oh
relatable.
yeah, it's relatable.
What do you think? What
Oh
would
my
you do? Or
God.
what would you tell
Okay.
your friend to do and not actually do?
Actually what I've learned to do painfully at this point, if this is like a character trait, if this is not just this
Yes.
what single situation, if this is like a pretty consistent trait of your partner that they like encounter a life problem that they're really upset about and that they express their disappointment over and over and over and over and they're unable to take action on it, to me these days that's a deal breaker. I won't fucking date you. I have dated that person so many times. I have tried to like be the helper. That's a pitfall for me. I will help you figure out your life. I will help you with the logistics. So recently in dating, it was top priority to me to only date people who like the logistics and the functionality of their life is like they're doing it without me,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a hard time resisting if someone needs help and it is a exhausting, b fucking pointless. Like you cannot make somebody do anything. You can't make someone do anything. So like that's why I'm like, how do I quit my own job? That's one conversation. How do I help my partner do anything? No,
Right.
it's not even, it's nothing. No, you don't. You don't. You don't. I would say like there's two different, and like I couldn't date this person now, but it happens a lot. There's like, sometimes it's just like a situation that happens and it's not their whole personality. And I think it also happens a lot more when people are younger, like in their 20s and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there's two different answers. One is like if they have expressed they would like to quit, if they've actually expressed that's a goal, if your partner expresses any goal to you, then you have a little bit of room to be like, hey, I've heard you say you want to do this thing. And what I see you doing is this, but not this. Do you want, like, you can like hold up a mirror. You can't make them do
Yep.
anything. I think there's a line, but you have a little more room to hold up a mirror and be like, I've heard this is what you want, like, but this is what you're doing. Do you want to help me hold you accountable? Do you want to talk through this? Do you need help getting to that point? I would still really limit how much. Don't fucking hold their hand. It doesn't fucking
Yeah.
go anywhere. But if they haven't even expressed that they want to quit, if they are like just really unhappy in it and complaining and like, you cannot make someone make a change that they haven't even expressed they want to make. I mean, I would put so much more energy into limiting how much energy you give
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Spot on. Spot on. That was exactly my read on this. And I think you opened by saying, like, is this a character trait? I think that's definitely the first question you have to ask. And there's two character traits that could be happening here. One of them is what you described, which is this a person who allows themselves to stay stuck in situations that they don't like and aren't good for them, and doesn't make life changes, and doesn't know how to, like, take the next step and get themselves to a better place, and like relies on you for that type of
I was
thing.
gonna say, and makes other people carry the burden of their
Exactly.
unhappiness.
Yes. And then the other character trait, which this person could be both, but it could also just be one or the other. The other character trait that I've seen is like people who just like to complain. And it's funny for us to say that because we do so many complaints on the podcast, but petty complaints that are
They're
funny
art.
and
It's art.
observational
It's
is
art.
art. It's
It's art.
different than it's art. Would agree. We're science and we're art. We're all of it. Um but there are some people who want to live in the victim mindset, who want to
Yeah.
live in a negative mindset, who want to live in a way that's like
Ugh.
everything about my life sucks, and it's all these outside factors, and then there's me,
And it's
and
never
almost
me.
like they
And
have
it's
no control of it.
I have
It's
no
just
ownership.
happening to them. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is actually, I totally agree with what you said about like, I don't want to fuck with people who can't make their own life decisions and can't get themselves out of a negative place on their own and things like that. But almost before I had that realization, the first realization I had is I don't want to fuck with people who are so negative all the time, who it's just their job might be fine. They might be fine staying there forever. If they haven't told you they want to leave, they literally might think this is my job forever. And I get to complain about it because that's what I do when I'm in any situation. I'm a complainer, I'm a negative person. And
Yeah.
those people are life sucking to me, like really hard to be around. And you might be feeling that burden on yourself, like not just the burden of
Big
how
burden.
do I get them out, but almost more just the burden of how do I be with a person who is such a downer about everything and just wants to complain but wants to do nothing about it. That is like such
Yeah.
a red flag to me.
And instead of them owning it, they're actually like instead of them carrying the burden of their unhappiness, which like we all get in spots in life where we might be unhappy, going through a tough spot, like it takes a little while to gear up to make some changes. But someone who like declines to own that unhappiness, they just make everyone else around them own it. Like
Mm-hmm.
they own, you now are the owner of their misery. And that's why, like, if it's something that persists and they really are not willing or able to make changes, then I think the thing you communicate is to like say in some kind way why it's hard for you to know how to keep showing up for someone when they're, returning to the same problem, returning to the same unhappiness, someone you care about deeply, how painful it is to see them consistently, persistently unhappy and not able to do anything about it. Because then it gets to like, I need to either not hear about it anymore,
Right.
or you need to find another outlet, or you need to find some action, or maybe this relationship doesn't last. Like that is
Right.
a that will push anyone apart or just make you both miserable.
Yeah. And I think maybe the step that comes before that is like look around at other things in their life, other things that you both have experienced together in the time that you've been in a relationship, and
Mm.
like really evaluate what their reaction to those harder times or those situations that they felt stuck in were. Is this a one-off thing? I'm betting that it's not, but maybe this is a one-off thing and they're just really feeling like overwhelmed and stressed right now, and they don't have a pattern of being this negative person or being this person that puts everything on you or being this person that like allows themselves to stay stuck. Or maybe they do. And so like really looking at, how long has this been going on? Is it only related to work, or is it also related to this aspect of their life or that aspect of their life? And is it a trend, which would then prove the theory that
Yeah.
we're working on here that's like it's a character trait. And then once you've arrived at that perspective, that's when I think you can feel a little bit more empowered to bring it up with them and be like, I'm noticing that this is how you handle a lot of hard things that get thrown at you. It's making me feel anxious about our relationship or feel whatever you feel because I can't pick up all the pieces for you every time,
It can also
you
make you
know?
feel used. Like in a way, it's like an enabling dynamic when they're
Mm,
addicted to misery. The addiction is misery,
yes.
and they've got someone at home who'll make it okay. They've got someone at home who'll always listen to the constant
Misery loves company.
flow of misery. And to like at a certain point, if you can like it's a really hard balance to strike to that this is something that really tortures me, and I like struggle with this with like a particular person in my life who's addicted to being miserable, and and I love them, and you're torn between like not wanting to abandon someone
Mm-hmm.
and also not wanting to enable them. It's like such a fine line. It feels like almost impossible to occupy that space. But I think there is something to kind of withdrawing that comfort for them that enables them to keep being miserable in a sustainable way. Sometimes when people have that taken away, then they're left with the reality of how they feel, which is that I'm just
Mm-hmm.
miserable and there's no one to witness it. And if I don't want to be miserable anymore, I have to do something about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really do. I've had those people in my life too. And, it could result in a little bit of distance between you and this person for some
Yeah.
period of time. It could result in like, a certain tension that enters the relationship now that you've pointed out this pattern and you've separated yourself from it. But ultimately, that's going to be better for you. And it will be better for them if this enabling thing is going on, which it very well could be.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen with a friend, and we've kind of like taken space from our friendship as a result and come back together after some period of time. And they've been able to recognize,
Yeah.
I was really negative and I was putting a lot of that on you. And that wasn't fair. And having some time apart from our relationship helped me really realize that and work on it. And now I want to try again to have a better relationship with you. And we do. I'm literally talking about an actual friendship where that
Yeah.
transpired. So
So
it is
scary to do
possible
though.
to,
So
I
hard.
know. I don't even think in that situation I um directly spoke to them about the fact that this was happening. I don't think I was like able to articulate it in the moment. I felt the weight of their problems and their mindset every time that we would spend time together, but I didn't really have the vocabulary
Mm-hmm.
yet to be able to say like, oh, they're putting all their shit on me and it's not working. I only really realized that we just kind of drifted apart naturally, and then I kind of realized in retrospect that was happening,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
did they. Um, so anyway, this is a bit getting away from the topic, but it's a really hard thing to realize that somebody that you love is also somebody that's like loves misery and is draining you,
Yeah.
and you can both love them and not want to be around that or not want to enable that. And it's probably the better choice.
Yeah. Whatever you do, I would say whatever you do, don't mother them. Don't walk them
Mm,
through it. Don't
mm,
do not like be their mother to walk them through it. That
you can't fix
doesn't
it
it
for
really
them.
doesn't get anybody anywhere. It doesn't.
Okay, let's see. This one's a little bit, I wouldn't call it light, but it's kind of funny. Um, Made me laugh. And I thought it was a really good question. I don't have a good answer to it really, but I think it'll be an interesting conversation. So this person wrote in and said, "What to do about spite? Are we good with a little spicy? Well, actually, fuck you. I can in work life or personal situations just because when someone shuts me down, I want to cry, but also I want to kick ass and make them regret it. So basically, I just need a little devil angel response from y'all to convince me I'm doing the right thing. What a fucking human message. I was just like, this
Yeah.
person, the self-awareness,
Yeah.
the humanity on display. I loved it. I don't know. I don't find myself to be a very spiteful person, but every once in a while, if I'm to the point in a situation where I'm feeling that anger that results in spite, like that's bad because it happens rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm usually pretty good at stopping myself from doing the spiteful thing because
I can't picture you as a spiteful person.
I'm not,
That's a
I have the
hilarious
thought.
thing to picture.
I have the thought sometimes, but I pretty much never act on it because the way that I govern my life is like putting energy towards something means I care about it and I'm letting it have my energy, whether it's negative or positive. My energy is valuable. And if I want, like, being spiteful and actually acting out in a spiteful way would require a lot of energy that this thing probably doesn't deserve because it pissed me off. So fuck it. Instead of spiting it, I'm just going to put up a wall and be like, no more from this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know. That's vague. Like, I need to think of a specific example maybe to make more sense. But I end up having the spiteful thought, but then not going through with it because I'm like, that would require energy that this doesn't deserve.
Well,
Um,
I guess to me, it's like, what's the spiteful thought? She talks about like, um, it kind of motivating her in like in her work or some shit. I think the distinction for me is like, is it are you taking that spite and then like taking a new action that wasn't even like your goal, it wasn't even on your agenda because of that? If you're I think it's fine to like, I don't know, whatever you need to motivate you. If you had a goal, you're like, I'm starting my new business, someone pisses you off, and then that spite kind of gives you a little oomph, a little like extra motivation
oh,
to
sure.
fucking kick ass in your business. Like, get motivation wherever you want to get motivation, but
Yeah.
don't. I would say, like, I think the danger zone is like, you don't want it to be your long-term motivation. You don't want to be building your business just so you can piss someone off. And you don't want to be setting like long-term new goals just out of spite. But like, if it gives you a little kick in the ass and something you wanted to do anyway,
Yeah,
okay, cool. Like, motivate yourself however you want. I don't care.
totally. That's actually
Don't make
so
it long
true.
term. Don't make it long term though. That's you lose. Then you've lost for sure.
Yeah, somebody asked us about one time when we were asking for hot take topics, somebody submitted revenge body, which I thought was such a funny topic to think about. Like people who go through a breakup and then right afterwards they're like hitting the gym, they're starving themselves, they get really hot. And while that often happens post breakup for anyone, like I did that after my big breakup, it wasn't really to get revenge, at least not consciously. It was just like the only thing that feels good is to go to the gym and whatever. So
You've got
that's
all
what I'm
this
doing
time
to
all
take
of a
care of
sudden.
myself.
You've got all
Yeah.
this fucking time. I don't know how people work out when they're in a relationship. Like,
Right.
you've got all this
Right.
time.
So
Everyone
you're
in the
like,
gym,
catch
and
up.
it's so funny. I never thought about it. I go to the gym all the time, but I went a lot more when I was single, and I never thought about it when I was single going to the gym. But now when I walk into the gym, I'm like, oh, all these people are single. Like, everyone here is
Yeah,
basically single, or like barely holding, or they're in a relationship and they're barely holding on to their fitness
totally.
regimen.
Totally. They're like, this is their one time in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a good exemplification of spite. It's like if the only reason that you're trying to go to the gym and work out is for a revenge body, that body's probably not going to last you very long because that's not enough motivation for you to keep going to the gym and keep up your like gorgeous new figure forever. But if it's like the thing that gets you out of bed that morning after your last conversation with your ex and that's what's going to get you to go to the gym and do something healthy for you, like, okay, fine, do it for a little bit. And then hopefully it turns into like you end up really liking the gym. It's kind of similar. It's like I've definitely had an attitude in certain projects I've taken on. My first podcast, Peaking, I always wanted to do a podcast. I was already dabbling in the comedy world.
Are you about to
It
tell me
was
this was a
something
revenge podcast? I
a
hope
little.
Peking was a
It was
revenge
something
podcast.
it was something on my radar that like I might want to do something like that. But it wasn't until somebody broke up with me that I was like, oh, now I gotta like prove them wrong. Even though
Mm-hmm.
he never doubted that I would be like a good podcaster. Like it wasn't specific.
It's
It
more
wasn't,
fun to imagine that he did. It's more
I
fun to
know,
imagine
right?
that he
It
doubted me.
wasn't
He probably fucking
specific.
doubted me. That he probably fucking doubted me.
Exactly. Exactly. He didn't want to be with me, so he didn't believe in anything about me, you know? And
Believe
that did
me.
put a fire under my ass to start doing something that I'd wanted to do. So I feel like
Yeah.
that type of spite, sure. But actually acting out like against someone directly, like saying, you know, I don't
I'm
know,
not
fighting
vengeful.
back.
I will say there's zero part of me that is vengeful.
Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah. I think if it's
Vengeance.
fight, if it's just like, oh, I'm gonna work harder at this thing I was already doing, cool. Do it.
Yeah.
Send it. Send it, bitches.
Okay. I wonder if
Okay.
I wonder if they're going to be surprised by that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we gave devil and angel. Perfect. Okay, moving
I
on.
think we were both devil. Were we?
I started angel and then as usual I reveal my true self after I talk about it a little bit longer. That's like what this podcast is for me. The lover
Yeah.
who is really a hater, just let her talk for like an extra minute and she'll get there.
Yeah, she'll get to it. She'll get to it.
Okay. Okay, so then we got a couple what-to-dos in the category that I'm going to describe as overcoming fear in the creative world. But I think it can apply to anything, not just the creative world. It just happens to be that these two people, one of them was talking about how they used to be a dancer, they stopped doing it for a while, now they're back to it and like they love it and it's so fun, but they also feel embarrassed that they haven't done it in so long and like they're just not used to being a performer anymore. Like they're used to being a background person and now that they're getting back into performance, they're like embarrassed by it for some reason. And then somebody else, a little bit different, was talking about getting negative feedback on their creative work. They're also a content creator and like what to do when you're feeling down about negative feedback. So I think it all comes down to like the fear of what others will think when you're pursuing a passion project or creative work.
Well, one of them's perceived criticism and one of
Yes.
them's concrete criticism.
Yeah,
So I
very
think
true.
they're a little bit different, but they both kind of get back to like shame and confidence, which I think everyone struggles with. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I have more concrete feelings about the content creator one, receiving
Okay.
like criticism on your work. And I think this applies to anyone in any field, in any work or hobby or whatever. But content creation specifically is really interesting because I think there's few other fields where you get such a constant flow of granular consistent user feedback, and it
Yeah.
is amazing. Like so many companies they spend millions and millions of dollars to get like just like a fraction of that level of user feedback, but obviously it also can teeter into something that sends you back into therapy. And I actually would not say, I will never say like ignore the haters, because sometimes criticism is really helpful and important. And sometimes they might pinpoint something that resonates with you. I think when you get feedback that really, really hurts, I think a lot of the time it's something that like a little part of you might agree with, or like a little part of you knows an
Mm,
aspect of truth. Those are the ones that stay with me the longest, when I'm like, a part of me knows that something in there is true. I think those ones really hurt. And so I do like, I think I've gotten really helpful criticism at times on YouTube, on the podcast, in different work. So I would never say like ignore it completely, but I think it's the art of like trying to discern what actually aligns with your own values. Does it hurt because they're calling out a way that you failed your own values, or does it hurt just because like somebody doesn't like you? And for that one, you do kind of have to get used to it, and the more you hear it, the less you give a shit. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, what the fuck else was I gonna say about this?
Well,
Yeah,
you and I have recently talked a little bit about this, and something else that you reminded me is like, if you're not getting any negative feedback, then either you're not growing, like you're not getting exposed to enough people where there's going to be people who naturally don't see things the same way as you, don't like the way you're doing something, or
you're
you're
not doing
not
anything
doing
interesting.
enough. You're not doing anything
You're not doing
interesting. You're
anything
not
interesting.
doing something that's worth commentary, that's worth debate, that's worth discussion. So I think that also has helped me, having that perspective of like, okay, it's actually good to get feedback, even if it's feedback that I don't like, even if it's feedback that hurts, because it means that it's getting a reaction. And this kind of goes to what I was just talking about with like where I put my energy. Even a negative reaction is still energy. Like being mad at someone still shows that you care. You know, giving
Yeah.
criticism to someone still shows investment. So there's something there for them to react to. And that's meaningful, even if it's hard to hear in the moment. And even if it's something you totally disagree with and you want to do nothing about, it still means like it incited a feeling. Hopefully you're getting positive feedback too, so that you know that you're inciting both types of feelings. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a good sign that you're creating something real.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on what the feedback is. Because, like, the other thing you have to remember, especially with content creation in the comment section, is like, I don't fucking value all these fuckers' opinions. There are some people's opinions I definitely value. There's some people's, like, consider the source. My brother will
Yeah.
say this to me sometimes when I get like a really fucking wild, dirty ass criticism that's just like insane. And he's like, if you could see this person on the street and this person on the street came up to you and said this, you would have no issue dismissing it because that's a crazy fucker. Like,
So
I
true.
don't value all your fucking opinions. I don't value the opinion of every single fucking person on earth. I don't. And you don't either. Think about that crazy aunt you have to see at Thanksgiving when she gives you her fucking opinion on the news. And you're like, I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't respect how you evaluate things. Oh, it's a lot of ants commenting in the comment section. Okay, it's a lot of ants out there. So it does depend on the comment. I think sometimes in discerning like what's real, like valuable criticism, what's valid and what's not. A lot. I think I made the mistake a lot of just like sitting with things privately. It can be such solo work, and I would just fucking like deteriorate quietly over a comment for like months,
Yeah.
and then after months, I would bring it up with a friend or a sibling, and only in talking to them about it and hearing their reaction would I realize how stupid and invalid the criticism was, because you just get in your head. It
Mm,
can really make you second guess like everything that you know to be true. So I would actually suggest like talk to people about it, talk to people who you respect, and they can help you figure out like that's a crazy person.
right.
That's not your fucking business if they didn't like that. That's not your fucking business if something you said that way didn't sit with them. And then the other part is like I think criticism is the hardest to handle when you're trying to guess what people want to see. When you're trying to guess how to please people, um and you're just like, instead of just like listening to like what you want to make and what you believe in and what you can fully endorse and stand behind, criticism is a lot harder to handle when you can't fully stand behind your own work. But if I make a video, I'm working on a video right now, I don't think anyone's going to watch it. I think a lot of people are going to hate it. I think I'm going to get a lot of blowback for it, but like it's true, I mean it, and I have to express it. So okay, I don't give a fuck, like, whatever, I have to make it. And
Yeah.
that's
I
that.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, I guess maybe that ties to the first question a little bit. And if there's nowhere to go with this, we can cut it. But
Oh yeah.
because that's more like, okay, you're creating a video right now that you are already anticipating a certain reaction for.
People are gonna
It,
hate it. They're gonna hate
it's
this video.
which I can't wait. I'm gonna love it. It's perceived, you're perceiving the reaction before it's even happened. It's kind of
Yeah.
like feeling embarrassed before anything has happened to make you feel embarrassed, like feeling shameful or feeling, well, not that you're feeling embarrassed and shameful about this, but I'm trying to tie it to that
Yeah.
previous WHATADO. Um, and I feel like there's something interesting there about like overcoming the fear of embarrassment or the fear of what people's reactions will be without even knowing that that's the reaction yet.
Yeah.
When it comes to creating content, creating art, doing
Putting
performance,
yourself
like,
out there in a vulnerable
yes,
way. Anytime you're putting yourself out there in a vulnerable way, yeah.
yeah. I, and it's hard because I've even like, okay, I'm stepping out more and more into the content creation world, and I'll catch myself watching content, like scrolling through Instagram reels or something and being like, "Oh, that's so cringe. Oh, this person doing this, like ew, like I hate this." Like really being critical of other people's content and then
Mm.
being like, "Oh, shoot. I'm a person that puts content into the world. I have Instagram reels from the podcast that are popping up on the page of people I don't know where I'm talking about freaking there are 8 different types of feet. Like
Hmm.
somebody can watch that and think it's super cringy and super embarrassing. And I don't know, I'm catching myself like being embarrassed for other people and then being like, should I be embarrassed too? It's just this whole cycle of, I don't know, you're putting yourself out there and not everyone's going to like it. If you like it, then at least you got that going for you.
This is how, yeah, totally. And the thing about embarrassment that's like so hard to remember is that like it's not real. It's not anything. Like nothing
Yeah.
happens. There's no consequences to being embarrassed. The only negative consequence to being embarrassed is usually fearing embarrassment and then stopping yourself from doing something that would make your life beautiful because you're afraid of embarrassment. That's the only fucking
Mm,
side effect to embarrassment. Like someone, even Jess, even you sitting in your living room privately thinking someone else's reel is cringe, they don't feel that. They don't fucking know. It has no effect on them.
true.
Like the only way you suffer from embarrassment is when you stop yourself from doing things you care about. And easier said than done. Easier said than done. I think it's like it's one thing. It depends what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to be brave about something like publishing your art or maybe publishing a video that's not like a live performance. I have a special skill I've honed of like making my body do things that my mind has not yet caught up to. And there's like pros and
Interesting.
cons to that. Yeah. But
What's what are we
some
is this
people
sexual?
some people would refer to it as disassociating, but
Oh, sure.
um
That, yeah,
yeah,
familiar.
yeah, yeah. Who knows where exactly I learned it, but there is something to like if it's something like I want to publicly share about this art I made, post about it on Instagram, like you actually don't have to have the confidence in order to do that. You just have to have the physical ability to upload the photo and press the button. And then the rest, it's just happening. It's kind of out of your
Yeah.
hands. Like you don't have to have the confidence to jump out of a plane. You just have to be able to take a step and then you're kind of in the air. But with live performance it's harder. Like that didn't work for me when I was doing improv, or this girl talked about dance, like live dance. You can't fake it as much
Mm,
because it's like it requires a different kind of presence. But something that did help me when I would like feel fear embarrassment, at least at work in my tech job, giving a presentation or something, I couldn't access real confidence for myself. And I couldn't access like it sounds like you are having a hard time accessing compassion for yourself in that like why you deserve to dance and enjoy it even if you're like kind of rusty. That's like a lack of compassion because I think anyone else would turn to you and be like you deserve to fucking go dance if you want to go dance. But if
right.
you have a hard time accessing that like I do, my hack would be like I would give a presentation kind of doing an impersonation of my boss.
Mm,
I would just like I'm going to go out there and give a presentation the way that my boss would, and suddenly I could embody all the mechanics of what confidence looks like without actually feeling confident. And I wonder if that might like tide you over for a bit in a dance performance until you also realize that like no one gives a fuck. No one cares
yeah.
if you're bad. No one cares if you're bad.
Yeah, I really like that. It makes me think this whole piece of the conversation has made me think about doing stand up because
Yeah.
I've only dabbled in stand up. I've never been like a person that does stand up and goes to the open mics and practices weekly and like goes in hard on it. I just do it sometimes because it's fun.
Same. I didn't do it that
And
intensely either. Yeah.
right. And but that creates like an imposter syndrome in my head where I'm like, well, I'm not a real stand up. And that creates a lack of compassion for myself when I go out on stage and try something and it's scary and I could be embarrassed. But something that I've learned through my own dabbling and through observing other comedians and listening to podcasts of comedians and things like that, and also through being an audience member and going to a lot of stand-up shows, is that the people there in the audience like want you to do well. And I don't, and that's not because they care about you. I'm not trying to
They
pretend
don't.
that like
They don't.
human beings in the world care about each other. No, they don't fucking know you and they don't care. That's not why.
Yeah.
They want you to do well because they showed up at the show to have a good time. And so they want it to be a good show for themselves, not for you, for themselves. And so if you're fumbling over something, or if your joke's not landing, and this could apply to a bunch of different live performance styles, um, the audience doesn't like that. The audience doesn't want that. Like they get nervous with you. Now
Yeah.
they're nervous with you because you're nervous. But if you own a mistake, like I'm sure we've all been to a stand-up show where somebody kind of bombed a joke didn't land, and they very quickly will say like, oh, okay, taking that out of the act, or like, oh, that's a new one, we'll have to workshop it more. And everybody laughs and everybody's like, oh, he's human and he acknowledged that that wasn't that good. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And we
That's
all move
it.
on
The
because we
humanity.
all
Everybody loves
want,
humanity.
everybody loves humanity. Everybody is there to have a good time. And if something happens where you messed up, just acknowledging and moving on is like, okay, and we're all back. We're all back to having a good time and just remembering
Yeah.
we're all humans. So I don't know. I think there's something there too with like
Mm-hmm.
the audience isn't out to get you. They're not against you. They showed up here. They paid for a ticket. They whatever they
Yeah.
did. Like they were already bought into like, I'm at this dance show. I'm at this stand-up show. It's just about you, I don't know, like owning the having the confidence to pretend that you're good, fake it till you make it, act like your
Mm-hmm.
boss. When I do stand up, because I've only dabbled in it, I don't have my like voice figured out yet. I'm mimicking a bunch of stand-ups that I like, and that's okay because it helps me put on a confidence. And then if you mess up, just we're human, move on. Like just it's the confidence. It's faking the confidence, I think, for all of this, and knowing that the audience will come along with you if you have a good enough pretend confidence that they believe. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
I think it does. I think about like, yeah, again, in being improv, I think about improv a lot because I really struggled. This is like, I never, something that does haunt me a little bit is that like, I never um overcame this very problem in improv. I was like pretty like a talent there, but something happened where I got so nervous and it became a downward spiral where I'd get so nervous and it was like and faking it till you make it doesn't work in improv because you
Mm,
have to be so sharp and so present of mind. It's you like your mind has to be like so relaxed and so at ease. So the more anxious I would get, the worse I would do. The more anxious I would get, the worse I would do. And at one point I like got prescribed like beta blockers by my
oh
psych to
wow.
like try and like minimize it was really intense. I was started drinking a lot before performances. Everyone would joke that like by the time I got on stage I was like covered in red wine. and
Oh.
and it didn't, and I'll say like I, you know, tried all these things that didn't help. They didn't help. They didn't make any of it better. And I ended up quitting. And I never kind of resurrected myself, I feel like. But I do think about the people who were loved in that comedy scene. And everyone loves talent. Everyone loves someone who's like good at the thing, but they don't like a talented asshole. And people, yes, they love talent, but they also loved the guy who like was like pretty bad at improv, but he was a really nice guy.
Mm,
And I don't know. I think it does center back to like that human thing that you were talking about, like talent and like success is like a nice shiny thing. We're all attracted to that sometimes, but what like will really set you at ease is just like relating to people and yeah, trying to have a like a good attitude about it, which I don't really know how to do that. So like, but I relate and thinking back, that's like I think the people who thrived. Yeah. And
Yeah, that's
they
I
sucked, and
like
they
that
sucked
point.
at improv. They sucked at it.
But it's almost like people like to see somebody, just to go off the relating point, people like to see somebody that like kind of could be them up on a
Yeah,
stage doing something bold or funny or different or talent ridden, or even if they're not that good at it, just seeing somebody take a chance. I don't know. I think audience members of art shows, comedy shows, dance, music, at least for me, when I'm in the audience, I just love seeing somebody on a stage trying something because they love it.
dude. Yeah, I clap so hard. I think I'm like the most enthusiastic audience member because I just feel for you. I don't give a fuck what you do
Same.
up there. I don't care what you do up there. I'm gonna clap so hard for you.
Same, because I've been on a stage trying
Yeah,
something just because I wanted to see and because I had fun doing it and it was fucking scary. But I know what that feels like and I see myself in it, even if it's, yeah, an art form I've never done myself before. And I'm not saying every single audience member is that person, but there's enough people out there who like they're just here to have a good time and see a human doing something, trying something. And if you can like allow your humanity to come through, then it'll probably get you further than you think. But
I
all of
actually
this whole conversation is hard to have about dance because I'm like, dance, they don't talk. They don't get
I
to like
went
take the
to
mic and be like, oh,
I
this is
know.
my first time back in 5 years. Like, they don't get to do that. When I'm doing stand up, I can quickly on the spot think of a
Well,
way to get
yeah.
myself out of a situation and get a laugh if I didn't get a laugh a minute ago. You know what I'm saying? It's
I
harder for
went
something like that.
to I actually went to like a dance recital last night for like a friend.
Oh,
Actually, I was out with Prince Abi who edits. And
Prince.
we went to like her friend's dance recital. And first of all, I thought I was going to like a professional ballet. It was not that. It was children. It was like children. And it was some of the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
It was like a wild experience for someone who was expecting a professional ballet. And
You're
then it
like,
was
I
just
bought
like
this
a
outfit to go,
children's.
young Republican outfit to go to the Nutcracker. And oh, I'm at a
I was
school.
100%. I was 100% young Republican foul mouth Samantha outfit. I had like
Yeah,
a bow in my hair
I can picture
and
it.
like a cute fucking jacket. And like then I was at a children's dance recital, and some people were so fucking bad. There were kids like wobbling when they're supposed to be holding poses or like tipping over at the wrong times. It was so crazy. And the whole time I was just thinking also how crazy it is sometimes to attend a dance performance where sitting in the audience, like I felt like as an audience member, I was not high. I swear I was not high. I'm never high. But I was just sitting there in the audience, just being like, it's so crazy that I'm sitting here being like, show me what you can do with your body. And I'm gonna, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was such a funny thing, just being like, we're all gonna sit here,
Spectators.
all these like different like square plebeians of Washington D.C. greater metropolitan area like now want to sit down and watch what these 13-year-olds can do with their bodies. It's like it was such a weird. I don't know what my point is, but it was like a weird experience, and I clapped so hard.
Yeah, well, I know exactly what your point is. It's like the people in the audience are just people who, guess what, probably can't do the same thing that you're on stage doing, even if you're doing it badly. The audience is still there to watch you because
Also, who
they
gives a
can't
fuck?
do that. They're not
Doesn't
doing
matter.
that,
They hate
you
you. Who
know?
cares? Fuck them.
Yeah,
Fuck
okay.
them. My dad likes to say fuck them, and I agree.
I agree. It always
Okay.
comes back to the dads.
Fuck them. Okay.
How long? Okay, we're like at 58 minutes. Do you want to do another?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a different type of segment to close? What do you think?
Let's do something light. Maybe it could be a segment. It could be a what to do.
Okay. Okay. Here's a final what to do.
Okay. Is it
And
like
I feel like we've touched on this a little, but you were talking about this last week, and so maybe you have more to say.
oh,
I'm gonna try to push you. I'm a pusher.
you're a
So,
pusher?
what to do when you're too shy to tell your guy what kind of kinky stuff you want him to do? That's a good question. It's a fair question. We're all shy little girlies.
Yeah.
Here at Not For Everyone. We're the shyest.
um okay.
I mean, I have very basic advice. Like, I don't know that I've mastered this. I get super embarrassed and shy and like bashful
Yeah.
in a situation like that. And also, I like force myself to do it anyway. And usually for me, I'll turn it into a joke. And then it's like, no, actually, I'm being serious. It's not a joke.
And now I'm fucking you.
Yeah. Or I'll be like, oh, I heard about this thing on a podcast and I thought that might be like fun to try. Even if I didn't hear it on a podcast, I'll just like blame podcasting. So I don't know. I'll couch my like weird fantasies and desires and kinky requests with like, I'm joking, but I'm not. Or like Caroline told me about this or something.
You can totally, that's my first piece of advice. You can blame all of your kink interests on me because it probably is one of my interests. I have an entire genre of sex fantasies that I dabble in. I have an entire genre of sex fantasies just about mall Santas. Like it's a whole series. It's a whole series.
A series that lives in your mind, you mean?
It's in my mind. I've never seen it done properly to my satisfaction. You've online. Looked. Yeah. Most of my, I'm sure it's out there, but most of my like porn watching is just in my mind these days because I think I could rate, first of all, I think I could write really good porn. I genuinely do. And I think it'd be cool. And I used to be really nervous with this though. I think being with someone, it's important to be with somebody who like makes it possible to say things that make you nervous. And I wasn't always with those people. It's like definitely become a lot more comfortable with Justin. I don't think he has been prepared for the things he's made me comfortable to share with him.
This is your fault for making me comfortable.
I know.
It's not my fault for having a dirty mind.
But I find that like, I feel like the way I started sharing things that I was nervous, like, like, I want to use a toy is like, even that felt so hard. I would literally like practice saying it. I would sit with Ashley and I would like practice saying confidently, just as a statement, a sentence, I like to use that. This is what I do. Yeah. And you can giggle with it and like start with something smaller. Maybe, I don't know. Start with the thing that's least scary. And most likely, if this person's not an asshole, they're probably going to be into it, at least, if not immediately, they're going to be into it when you start describing why you're into it. Like, I don't know if you're talking about a guy, but at least most guys are just like into things that turn you on, and like, tell me about the mall Santa. And so I would like share this thing that I like that maybe they've never thought of. And then I would start talking about why I like it, which just naturally becomes dirty talk. And you're just describing this fucking horny ass thing. And then they're into it and then they're trying it and it's not embarrassing for everyone. And then I feel like once you shared something small, then like you both just get more comfortable. Like I think we've made each other more comfortable, like opening up more with sexual stuff.
Yeah, you can always, this is what I would do with that. I would be like, hey, I have this fantasy about mall Santas. And then my boyfriend would be like, what? And I'd be like, no, just kidding. It's just this. And I'd pull back and I'd be like, no, it's just toys. I just want to use toys. So that's what I would do. Like start with a shock. And then they're like, what? No fucking way. What are you saying? No way. And then you're like, no, just toys. And then they're like, oh, okay, sure. This is not good advice because it's a what to do.
I love it.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think starting small, what else.
Yeah,
and then why you like it.
Here, building up to the risk. Yeah.
So I've heard mixed advice from like sex podcasts and just friends and stuff about when is best to have these types of conversations. For example, some people feel like you shouldn't have them in the bedroom around sex. Have them, instead of like finishing sex and then being like, what I really want to try, you should have this conversation, like, I don't know, when you're just like having drinks on the couch and chatting. That's what some people believe, because potentially having a conversation like that right after sex will make your partner feel like, oh no, was that not good enough? And now she wants to have me do this. Is there a time frame when you have it, or is it just whenever these types of combos?
I would say for me it's not whenever. Usually I feel like it's just not usually after sex. It's usually like before sex, like before cuddling, sex. or maybe sitting around just talking, or a lot of it's easier to do if you're floating a new idea. I think sometimes you might try it over text because you don't have to have the confidence to like say it to their
Oh,
face.
I
You could just
love
kind of like
that.
you could kind of just like raise it over text like in a written form and see how they like, they give them time to respond and stuff, and then it's easier maybe to pick up in person. I don't know.
Oh, I feel like text. I like that because if they're into it, then
Horny as hell.
yeah, then it like becomes foreplay a little bit. But
Yeah, that's
also,
like
it would
wherever
make
I'm
me
talking about
nervous.
this,
It would make
it
me
does make me
nervous to be
nervous.
waiting for an answer, you
Ugh.
know?
I mean, I would say do take the risk in like bite-sized. I'm trying to think what's like the most extreme. I don't know. I mean, I was so nervous to even bring up like using a very basic toy with somebody. Like that was really hard for me. And I feel like I've graduated way past that, but it was like gradual steps. Yeah, I would just
Totally.
start with gradual steps. So you get like it also builds trust. Like don't you do like a giant trust fall to someone that you don't even know has arms yet. Like start,
Mhm.
by checking that they're like interested in maybe trying a trust fall, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There are also a lot of these like card games. We've used one on the
Oh
podcast,
yeah.
although
Oh,
it's
I've used
not
a
a sex one,
not a
but
sec.
there
We
are
probably
some
should
that
do
are
more
sex
sex card
focused.
games. Jess and I
Yeah,
do have a lot of card games. Yeah.
it's super fun. It's a good way of opening these conversations, like these
Yeah.
conversation starters. Some of them are spicy
That's
conversation
true. Then
starters. You
it's
can
it's
literally
like
buy it on
you're not bringing
Amazon.
it up. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
not
I
bringing
didn't.
it up. Like the
Now,
card is
have I shuffled
asking.
the deck and made sure that certain ones will come up first? Yes, I
Okay,
have.
immediately. So there's a card, like a coupley questions card deck from the cut. They have like a couples
I've heard of that
card
one.
deck. I will say there's like different sections of the card deck. I would say like 80% of the questions start fights. Like they're aimed to start fights. It's like, and it's to play with friends too. It's so crazy. We can't touch like half this card deck. It's like, what is some time like describe a time where you lost a lot of respect for me. They're like crazy
Oh,
questions, but and you're supposed to play them with friends like out drinking. They've started so many fights. But there's a section of the deck that's just like sexual fantasies, and that's really fucking fun.
yeah.
There's another one I think we got recently. What the fuck is it called? Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
I have one to shout out that's actually a friend of mine. It's her game.
Okay.
It's called No Wrong Answers, and it's a card game.
Oh,
They have like three different boxes that you could buy. One is normal, one is like kind of sexy, spicy, and then one I think is like family or something. And
okay.
it's really fun. I feel like, yeah, you have to get the good ones because sometimes the questions that come up in those card games are so basic and you're like, we already know this about each other. It's like, this is not moving the needle. So you have to pick a good one, but that one's a good one. If you want to fight, the cut one sounds like a good one.
The
There's
other
there's
one, I the other
We're
one
Not Really
is
Strangers is one. Go
oh
ahead, sorry.
yeah. There's one called, I think we just got this. I haven't tried this yet though. It's called The and Couples Edition. I haven't tried
Okay.
it yet, but it looks fun. The and Couples Edition.
Yeah,
Good title.
that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. We freaking told them what to do.
Yeah.
Do you have
I'm
any closing
so
thoughts for us, or are we just freaking done here?
I don't have any thoughts.
Mm.
Yeah. I actually was thinking about this recently. I feel like all of my creative energy is going towards my porn fantasies. I feel like that's why I don't feel very creative anymore.
So maybe you need
I'm
to do a reading
exhausted.
sometime.
What do you
Maybe you
mean
need
a
to
reading?
write it. You need to write
Oh.
one of your porn fantasies in like a
Oh yeah. It's
screenplay.
gonna it's gonna I actually have thought about it though, but it's gonna get like I can't even like describe the fantasies on here because like it's gonna get so horny on this podcast.
Yeah, we're not ready. I'm not ready
Yeah.
today. I have a
I
cough.
don't
I
think
need
I
to
can
be
I
in
don't think
like
I can
better health.
I don't think I can share that with you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna be so weird. I don't think I
Okay,
can do
if you
it.
ever can, I'm not going to put pressure on it, but I'm going to plant a seed that if you write a porn screenplay, we could do a table read and it would be hilarious. We can do voices. We can get other people to come do a table read with us.
There's a
Is
good
that the
one.
episode that our
I-
boyfriends join us for? Then it's like the
oh.
four of us are horny and that's weird.
They do, the boyfriends do want to be on the pod Or does Ryan? Justin wants to be on the pod.
Yeah. Want is a strong word, but like would
Would.
would under the right circumstances.
Yeah, maybe
No,
we
he
need to
was
do a
talking
porn
about,
reading of an original screenplay that I write.
I think that would be the right circumstances for him. I think that's really what he's been waiting for. He's
I
like, I
have
don't
another
lend my voice
one.
to anything other than
Okay.
Caroline's fantasies.
I have one that might suit. I have one that has served me well for a while about the KFC guy.
Stop. Okay, I think he'd be into that
I know because he's a
because he's
cook.
a cook. Yeah.
That's why I feel like he could be Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. Okay. He's
Isn't
down.
that Colonel
Although
Sanders?
he's more of a Popeyes guy though. So
Oh,
there might need to be
what's
some
their mascot? It
negotiations.
depends what their mascot looks like. Hold on.
Um,
Popeyes. Is it just a
like
chicken?
chicken. I don't
Is
know.
it a chicken?
I don't know
I
what
don't
it
know
is.
if I can make a chicken work. If it was like maybe it was like a donkey or like
Mm.
a cat that looks like
If
Tony
it's a cat.
Soprano. A cat.
And that's where we wrap up. We're not for everyone. We love cats. Caroline loves cats.
You can find us on Instagram, not for everyone pod. Tell us
The
about
number
your
4 is
weird.
in there.
The number 4 is in there. Tell us about your weird porn fantasies. Jess is Jay-Z DeBakey. I'm on YouTube as Caroline Winkler. And we love you, honey.
Honey bunches, thanks for being here. Kisses.
Till you die.